Okay, we're live on YouTube. Mr. May, the meeting is yours. Let me know if you need anything.
You got it. Thanks, Rob. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the regular city council meeting scheduled for Tuesday, January 26, 2021. It is a virtual Zoom meeting. Can we all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
The
of
flag.
the
United
United
States
States of America and to the republic
Republic
for which it
which
stands,
stands
one
one
nation,
nation
under God, indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty,
with liberty
and justice for all.
all. Thank you. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Mayor Beagle,
I am here and I am attending this meeting from beautiful downtown Wixom in the state of Michigan and the county of Oakland.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
I am present, attending remotely from Wixom, Michigan, Oakland County.
Councilmember Behrman,
Present from City of Wixom, County of Oakland, State of Michigan.
Councilmember Gotchall,
Present from Wixom, Michigan in Oakland County. Thank you.
Councilmember Grenlund Fox,
here in the city of Wixom, state of Michigan, county of Oakland.
Councilmember Sharp,
Present, City of Wixom, Michigan, Oakland County.
Councilmember Smiley,
Here. Good evening. I'm attending remotely from my home in Wixom, Michigan, Oakland County.
quorum present.
Thank you. Changes or additions to the agenda tonight is presented. City Manager Brown,
Mayor, I have no changes or additions to the agenda.
very good. Anybody from the council? Seeing none, we move on to the next item of business, which is the approval of minutes. We have two sets of minutes to approve tonight. The first one is the regular city council meeting minutes of January 12th, 2021. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Or
Do we have any questions, comments, corrections? Seeing none, I've got a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the regular city council meeting minutes of January 12th, 2021. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Grenlund Fox,
Yes,
Councilmember Sharp,
aye,
Councilmember Smiley,
Aye.
Mayor Beagle,
Yes,
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
Aye,
Councilmember Behrman,
Yes.
Councilmember Gotchall,
Yes.
7 yes.
thank you. And the next item is the approval of minutes of the special city council meeting minutes of January 19th, 2021. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
support,
Any corrections, additions? Seeing none, I got a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the special city council meeting minutes of January 19th, 2021. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Sharp,
aye,
Councilmember Smiley,
Aye.
Mayor Beagle,
Yes,
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
aye,
Councilmember Behrman,
Yes.
Councilmember Gotchall,
Yes.
Councilmember Grenlund Fox,
yes,
7 yes.
thank you. Moving on, we have no correspondence tonight, so it brings us to the first call to the public. The first call to the public is limited to 5 minutes per speaker, addressing agenda items only. And the rules to the call to the public are as follows. The public shall address the council during the call to the public, which shall be included on the agenda immediately after correspondence and again immediately after new business. The first call to the public immediately after the correspondence shall be limited to agenda items only. A person shall not address the council in excess of 5 minutes unless the time is extended by a majority vote of the council present. Persons wishing to address the council shall identify themselves and their place of residence and shall state their reason for addressing the council. All comments by the public shall be made directly to the council. And since this is an electronic meeting, once connected to the meeting, members of the public wishing to participate in the virtual public comment must alert us that they wish to speak by pressing *9 on the telephone keypad. Pressing *9 will activate the raised hand feature, signaling us that you wish to comment. Participants will be called on one at a time, as would happen during a regular in-person meeting. Do we have anybody for the first call to the public?
Again, press star 9 on your phone if you'd like to address council. We'll give it a moment to see if anybody raises their hand. No hands raised. Give it just another moment. Star 9 to raise your hand. No one has raised their hand.
All right, I'm going to close the first call to the public and move on to city managers' reports. We have 2 tonight. The first one is departmental reports of December 2020. Any questions?
Does this include water?
Yep.
Then I do.
All right, Councilmember Gatchel?
Thank you. I'm not sure if anyone is here from F&V. Maybe Mr. Sigma can relay it, but in the past, before we switched operators, we used to have any resident complaints of water issues or any sort of trouble they were having were added to the reports. And then I noticed that those stopped coming in. And while I would like to think it's because we have no resident complaints, I think it may have just fallen off since we switched to F&V. So
I was just looking, re-looking at the report, and it looks like your pages end at page 5, and the report actually goes through page 13, and there are some items that for inquiries that were written on page 12 of that. They have the telephone log, so I'll make sure that this gets out. I just noticed it just before the meeting, and I printed the remaining pages, so I apologize for that. But yeah, they had.
Yeah, I'm looking at the report. We do have a page 12, but it's just a telephone log. We used to have like the actual complaint or like a description of what was going on, because for a while people had like bubbling water and that kind of stuff, and that's what I would be interested in seeing again. Thank you.
Okay, I'll mention it to him.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Grenlund Fox?
Thank you. I had a question also for Tim regarding the fats, oils, and grease. I don't see that there's any information there.
They haven't had any additional samples taken this last month, and or I should say this is the December one, so they haven't had to follow up on any, and we're thinking that it was primarily due to COVID. There were very few restaurants that were open other than for takeout. So
that makes sense. Okay. Will they check it then again this month, or will it be in February?
They check quarterly. So that I believe I don't know what part of the quarter they do that, but then after they get the samples collected, then they follow up on those and issue resamples if necessary at that point.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. Deputy Mayor Resident.
There's one other thing on the water report, in addition to Councilman Gottschall's comments. We used to also on the front page, if any of those agency contacts were due to exceedances or regulatory issues, there's usually at least a little explanation of it on that page 1. And I noticed the last 3 reports, they just listed the acronym description of what that report is. And it might be good to put that back on the report.
If there were no exceedances or no exceedances, yes.
If there are any exceedances, and what are some of those reports? The THMC report and MOD report and things.
You would like to see those reports?
No, just maybe a little more English explanation instead of just the acronym. So we may know if it was due to some regulatory issue or exceedance.
Right. Yes, we can add those back in. can do that.
Great. Any other questions?
Uh,
Great, very good. Moving on to
For
the
the-
consent,
Yeah,
moving on to consent
Yes, sir.
agenda.
go ahead.
Oh, Deputy Mayor Resnick,
Yes.
sorry.
On the finance report.
Okay,
So Marilyn?
Oh.
On the account balances page, we have the LDFA at $64. Is that completely spent at this time? LDFA capital?
No, there is approximately another 480,000, I believe.
Okay.
And that's invested with Robinson Capital. It's in a
Okay.
different, yeah, it's in a different area.
A different report, okay.
Yeah.
thanks for catching that, Deputy Resnick, Deputy Mayor Resnick. Any other questions on the quarterly budget and investment report of September 2020? All right, seeing none, now I'll move on to the consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the items will be removed from the consent agenda and added to the regular agenda at the end of unfinished or new business. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Or,
Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Smiley,
aye.
Mayor Beagle,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
Aye.
Councilmember Behrman,
Yes.
Councilmember Gotchall,
Yes.
Councilmember Grenlin Fox,
Yes.
Councilmember Sharp,
Aye.
7 yes.
Thank you. We have one item under unfinished business tonight, and that is the recommendation by staff, the planning consultant, and the planning commission that the city council approve the enactment of a mandatory ordinance to rezone approximately 104.4 acres at 29311 South Wixom Road, parcel number 22-072-00-012 from M2 General Industrial to GPUD Gateway Planned Unit Development for the following reasons. One, the proposed rezoning meets the qualifying conditions of the property within the former Ford plant. The proposed rezoning is consistent with the goals, policies, and future land use map in the City of Wixom Master Plan. The proposed zoning is compatible with the site's physical, geological, hydrological, and other environmental features. The proposed uses in the DPUD are compatible with surrounding uses and zoning in terms of land suitability, impacts on the environment, density, nature of use, traffic impacts, aesthetics, infrastructure, and potential influence on property values. The capacity of the city infrastructure and its services is sufficient to accommodate the uses permitted in the district without compromising the health, safety, and welfare of the city. And the proposed rezoning allows greater flexibility in land development and uses. And that the city council approve the preliminary GPUD site plan for the parcel subject to a preparation of a GPUD development agreement by the city attorney and acceptable to Wixom Logistics Park Incorporated to be submitted to the city council as part of the rezoning review and approval, and review and approval of other consultants, departments, and agencies involved in project evaluation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Hey, City Manager Brown, you want to some info on this again, please?
Yes, so the report that I prepared and provided with your council packet addresses much of the same information as was provided at your meeting on January 19th. In summary, it's a 104.4 acre subsection of the remaining 183 acre parcel that was known as the Ford Wixom plant that is proposed for development under the action that you have before you tonight. At your January 19th meeting, you took the first step and introduced the amendatory ordinance to change the zoning from M2 to GPUD. There are two actions before you tonight, the actual enactment of that amendatory ordinance to change the zoning from M2 to GPUD, And then there's a second step that's on the agenda for you tonight that was not on the first action on the 19th, and that is pertaining to the approval of the preliminary GPUD site plan for this development. The development consists of basically 5 buildings totaling 1,576,000 square feet in total. The last 3 buildings would be in a later phase. The current phase would be for the first 2 buildings at about 740,000 and 130,000 square feet per building. As I said, you're looking to enact an ordinance change to change the zoning from M2 to that GPUD. As part of the discussion last time, we talked about the fact there'd be a draft development agreement that was brought to council. As I mentioned in the report, staff did a lot of work along with the outside consultants to put together that draft development agreement that was provided to council for general guideline purposes with your package for this council meeting of tonight. The thing that I'd like to mention, if you go to the second action item, it speaks to a couple of qualifications for that approval of the preliminary GPUD site plan. The first of which is that preparation of a GPUD development agreement by the city attorney that's acceptable to Wixom Logistics, the developer that's proposing this project. That involved quite a bit of work again by staff subsequent to the putting together the agenda package, and a lot of work also took place with Flint Development, the proposal, the people behind the proposal for the development. And as a result of a lot of work between then and now, we did come up with a draft development agreement that is agreeable in concept and in content generally to Wixom Logistics and to the city as well. There was talk of potentially bringing that to council tonight, but the finalization of that acceptable agreement was too late in the day to make that prudent, and we did not bring that to you for action tonight. Instead, the thing that's going to happen next is continuing review with city staff and then the planning commission at a meeting date in February, when, if everything goes well, planning commission would approve a final GPUD site plan that we will then suggest to planning commission that be made subject to that approval of that GPUD's final site plan would be made contingent upon action by the council to approve signing of the development agreement, which will then be finalized for whatever actions happen at planning commission. The exhibits will be finalized, and those kind of remaining details will be taken care of before you vote on it at the next council meeting after that, which would be February 23rd. So the timing of it is such that we felt comfortable that we could just allow planning commission to do their work, allow staff to do some additional work, finalize those exhibits and finalize a couple things that might come into play on the final site plan, and have it presented to you for approval at your February 23rd meeting, when you would have the opportunity to then vote on that development agreement. So that's the course of action that's in front of us from here. What city administration is recommending tonight is that you proceed with enactment of that amendatory ordinance to change the zoning from M2 to GPUD, and then also approve the preliminary site plan. Now, last time we did have an extensive presentation by Flint Development. I did tell them that I didn't think that was necessary to go through again. So they're not prepared to do any kind of a long presentation tonight. But we do have representatives from the Flint Development team on the Zoom meeting with us tonight that would be ready to answer questions if mayor and council have some related to this. And before I turn it back over to the mayor for you to handle those kind of things, I wanted to recognize Kelly McIntyre of CIB Planning and ask her if she thought I missed anything and if she wants to weigh in with anything before we start with mayor and council. Kelly, do you have anything?
No, I think you did an excellent job, Steve.
Thank you. So, Mayor, if you want to open it up to you and your board here for whether you'd like to ask any questions, if you have any concerns, we'll be happy to try to entertain them between us and the Flint Development team that are here.
Certainly, and I see Councilmember Smiley's got his hand up, so I'll go to him.
Thank you, Mayor Beagle. Actually, this is back to Mr. Brown. Just so I'm clear, tonight we're going to, we're going to approve the preliminary site plan, and then between now and February 20-something meeting, that's when the final site plan will come to us. And between then and now, Planning Commission will give its final look-see at it. Is that, do I have the timeline correct on all that?
Got the timeline correct, slight correction to how it's actually going to work from here. So the purpose of the preliminary GPUD site plan approval by council tonight is to allow the Planning Commission to do their review at their meeting, which is planned for February 22nd. And they will approve the final GPUD site plan if they so desire. And what we've talked about is that we would make the Planning Commission, we would recommend that their approval would state, roughly speaking, that their approval is contingent upon mayor and council authorizing the execution of the development agreement that we've developed, if you will, and presented and reached a general agreement on with Wixom Logistics, the proponents on this proposal. So that would be the only change that I would make. You would not come back and do the final site plan approval by council again. That would be handled at the Planning Commission level.
Oh, okay.
But we would make that contingent upon execution of the development agreement, which would happen quickly thereafter if the council approves it.
Oh, okay, good. Glad you clarified that. Okay.
Yep.
That's all I got for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Resnick.
Yeah, my only ask is that, between now and February 22nd is there was a lot of great input that was given in the last meeting after the detailed presentation. And that, some of those things that were asked to be looked into, and a lot of them most of them are contained in our minutes, that they actually be looked at and considered. And I know one thing that didn't get brought up at all, reading back through the minutes and all, was the traffic impact should also include the effects that might occur at Grand River and Wixom Road as well. And I don't think that really came up in the discussions last week at the emergency meeting, but I do hope those suggestions on, looking at phase 1 improvements, ones that were earmarked for phase 2, but looking at actually doing them in phase 1, and a lot of the suggestions that the rest of council had would be looked at very seriously between now and the 22nd. So that's it. Thank you.
Councilmember Gatchel?
Thank you. Somewhat in line with that, I was wondering over the last week if we're able to send a letter of sorts or notes of sort to Planning Commission as a council with our kind of requests about things that we've discussed that we would like to see addressed, since we're not going to be having final site plan approval as a council, to send this to them with a list of our asks, at least for consideration. Is that something we're able to do?
Well,
I might suggest that you might allow administration to basically put together that kind of a communication to you that would summarize the minutes and everything else, everything that was discussed during the 19th meeting, anything that you might come up on your mind in the interim as well, if you want to include anything like that, and we can provide that as a document for reference to the Planning Commission, if that would be acceptable to the mayor and council. Kelly, I don't know if you find that to be.
Could we put in their packet the minutes from that meeting? That'll have all that in there.
Yeah, so that's going to
That's what I
be
was
an attachment to the development agreement, I think, in the long run, essentially. So yeah, that will get covered, but if a summary document would be a little easier to deal with than the many pages of minutes. So I'm okay with that approach, if that's okay with mayor and council.
So you're going to summarize what was in there? You want us to tell you what?
I was going to summarize what's in the minutes and then
Okay.
provide it to you for review.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we can, and then if there's anything else we want to add, we can add it.
Right.
Yeah, because I know we get their minutes, but I wasn't sure if the
Yeah.
opposite was true as well, where they get our minutes. But aside from that, looking at the development agreement, you had mentioned making or requesting that Planning Commission make the final site plan approval conditioned upon us as a council approving the development agreement. Is there anything we can do tonight as a council to kind of make that binding instead of a request? I wouldn't imagine that they would undo something that administration is recommending, but I would just rather be positive that we're going to see this again instead of leaving it up to an unelected board, basically.
Kelly, I don't know if you want to address it, but what I would say is we would just, my wording as a request, in other words, that would be something that we would recommend be in the motion. That would be something that perhaps could be covered in the CIB letter that's going to go to the Planning Commission for that meeting. To state that that's the understanding of how that's going to proceed. I think that's how maybe we could handle that. Kelly, I don't know if you have a different idea.
No, I would agree. The development agreement is required as part of the approval. So, if you actually didn't, agree with the development agreement, then the approval would not stand. So they go hand in hand. We can certainly make it a recommendation to include that. But, even if it wasn't stated, the two go hand in hand.
Is it something that Planning Commission is able to vote on the development agreement, or is that something that only council is able to do?
The ordinance states that the council needs to approve that.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
So they won't be able to approve, the Planning Commission will not be able to approve it, which means that the site plan approval wouldn't be valid without that action anyway. We're just going to explicitly state it, I guess, in the recommendation.
Okay.
Any other questions? Does anybody from the development team have anything they want to say, or?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Kevin Lee with the Polsonelli Law Firm, representing Flint Development, the developer on this project. I think Stephen and Kelly did a good job teeing up the specific requests that you guys have before you this evening. We don't have anything to add other than to thank them for their time and effort on the development agreement. One point of clarification is that, and this is really a question for Steve and his team, is that we would request that we have a misunderstanding on our part. We thought the development agreement would be up for consideration this evening before you guys. I think that we would propose to come back and have that approved as soon as possible, as opposed to waiting until final development plan or after final development plan approval by the Planning Commission. So if that's a possibility, then I think that solves both of our issues, that we'll have an approved development agreement in hand when we go to Planning Commission for the final development plan approval. And you guys will have had a chance to look at that as well.
So we can talk about that. I recognize the issue, but just with the timing of it, Mr. Lee, it just wasn't going to be something where it was that I think was going to be received well with council, and I didn't want to bring something that they didn't have an opportunity to review to some extent, and they would have only had a matter of hours, and other things are going on during the day. So I didn't want to put them on the spot in that way. That's the only reason for the delay at this point. We can certainly talk about whether we have to have any kind of an action before the 22nd. My preference would be not to burden them with another special meeting between now and then, but it's something potentially that we could do. We could consider doing at a future council meeting date that would be in the interim. So that's something we could look at.
Understood.
Truly, the only reason for the lack of bringing it forward tonight is just I didn't feel it was going to be providing an adequate lead time for council. So. But I did want to represent that we did have, and trust me, and I thank Kevin Lee and everybody else from Flint Development for their perseverance to going through the process that we went through there. It was lots of discussion about lots of different things within the development agreement. In the end, we did come up with something that was agreeable to both parties. And I think we're there. It's just a matter of reflecting any late developing details like the exhibits. One of the things that was an issue with the version of it today, there's exhibits are referenced A through E, but there were no real exhibits prepared that were finalized and ready to go with the development agreement. So that'll be something that we can put together in the interim and provide plenty of lead time to council for their review before they have to approve it. So, but thank you to Flint Development as well. Like I said, there was a lot of work that went into that development agreement on both sides, and appreciate the attitude that was brought to it. I think we both want to see a great project done here in the city of Wixom, and I think that this development agreement is going to make it happen or allow it to happen in the best way possible for both parties. I think we're both comfortable with it, and I think council will be comfortable with it as well. So.
Okay. Is everybody happy?
Yes, that was all we had to add. Just wanted to clarify on timing there, but thank you, Steve. We'll talk offline and get something in good shape to bring back to you all.
Sounds good.
All right. All right, well, seeing no other questions from council or from development, everybody, I'll move on to, I've got a motion and a second to approve the recommendation by staff, the planning consultant and the planning commission that city council approved the enactment of an amendatory ordinance to rezone approximately 104.4 acres at 29311 South Wixom Road, parcel number 22-072-00-012 from M2 General Industrial to GPUD Gateway Plan Unit Development for the following reasons. The proposed rezoning meets and qualifying conditions that the property be within the former Ford Wixom site plan. The proposed rezoning is consistent with the goals, policies, and future land use map of the City of Wixom Master Plan. The proposed rezoning is compatible with the site's physical, geological, hydrological, and other environmental features. The proposed uses in the GPUD are compatible with surrounding uses and zoning terms and of land suitability, impacts on the environment, density, nature of use, traffic impacts, aesthetics, infrastructure, and potential influence on property values. The capacity of the city infrastructure and services is sufficient to accommodate the uses permitted in the district without compromising the health, safety, and welfare of the city. The proposed rezoning allows greater flexibility in land development and uses, and that the city council approve the preliminary GPUD site plan for the parcel subject to preparation of a GPUD development agreement signed by the city attorney and acceptable to Wixom Logistics Park Incorporated to be submitted to city council as part of a rezoning review and approval, and review of and approval of other consultants, departments, and agencies involved with the project evaluation. Roll call vote, please.
Eagle,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
Yes.
Councilmember Behrman,
Yes.
Councilmember Gotchall,
Yes.
Councilmember Grenlin Fox,
Yes.
Councilmember Sharp,
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley,
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you,
you all.
everybody. Looking forward
Thank
to this. Great opportunity for our city. Next up is we have one item under new business tonight. And that is a discussion of mental health related police calls. Councilmember Gotchall, you asked to put this on the agenda. I'll turn it over to you.
I appreciate it, Mayor. So I requested, or I guess I spoke with the public safety director a few weeks ago, and had asked if it would be possible to put together a report similar to the one we received of a breakdown comparing mental health and domestic violence and suicide related calls in the city during our lockdown in the last year compared to a non-lockdown or pre-lockdown time in the previous year or years. And the public safety director was helpful enough to make sure they got put together and send it over to everyone to review. I think, I guess unsurprisingly, the results came back that Wixom has been struggling during the extended lockdown. Mental health general calls were up 75%. Luckily, suicides were down. Overdoses remained unchanged. Family troubles and verbal disputes went up 33%, and domestic violence by assault or battery went up 52% essentially. So I was hoping that we might have a discussion as council tonight with some weighing in from the public safety director to see if there's anything we can be doing as a city to be offering help to our residents, whether there's any solutions that we can start to implement, any programs that we can start to advertise and publicize a little bit more for people in the city to know and to reach out and to get help with. Even something that came to mind was if there's tools out there to have a little bit more discreet means of reporting issues that are going on, domestic violence. Maybe someone is in the middle of a dispute and can't make a phone call or doesn't and want to make a phone call, they don't feel safe. Is there a texting ability or something like that? Just thinking outside of the box, because our residents shouldn't have to be going through this kind of a struggle when we're all trying to get rid of a virus. So just something I thought would be a worthwhile discussion, and hopefully some good would come of it.
Public Safety Director Moore, can you give us some information on this regarding, are there agencies in the area that we can rely on and things like that?
Yes, Mayor, I'd be happy to. Good evening, Mayor and members of council. Yeah, I was happy to put together this document for Mr. Brown and for Mr. Gottschall. I can tell you that the City of Wixom and the Wixom Police Department, we do partner with several wonderful organizations, including but not limited to the Lakes Area Community Coalition. That is a group that's affiliated with the Wall Lake Consolidated School District and Families Against Narcotics. That group primarily focuses on youth, on middle school and high school aged children. So we do partner with that organization, as well as Hope Not Handcuffs. So you're all aware that we have the Hope Not Handcuffs program. Someone can walk into the police department 24/7. They can walk in on Christmas morning and say, I need help, and we'll put them in touch with a Hope Not Handcuffs angel who will do their level best to get them into a treatment facility, get them a bed, to speak informally. In a treatment facility, we have our drug disposal box, where we're doing our level best to get the prescription drugs off the streets. So we partner with groups like Hope Not Handcuffs, Families Against Narcotics, Lakes Area Community Coalition. We also partner with the Haven of Oakland County. It's required by department policy that when a police officer engages with somebody who's been victimized by domestic violence, that the officer's required to provide them with Haven information. And if it's a severe case and the victim is willing, the officer will actually reach out to a Haven caseworker right from the scene and put that victim in touch with the Haven caseworker to determine if that person needs a shelter or if they need further assistance beyond what the officer is able to provide on the street. And to Mr. Gottschall's question about text to 911, I can tell you the Oakland County Sheriff's Office, who provides dispatching services for the Wixom Police and Fire Departments, the Oakland County Sheriff's Office has had text to 911 for about 4 or 5 years now. And I'm probably due to remind the community of that through the social media here in the police department. I did it about 4 or 5 months ago, but essentially if somebody is in a position where they are unable to pick up a phone and dial 911 because they're afraid that their assailant might hear them, or perhaps somebody's breaking into their home and they're afraid that, and they're hiding, they're afraid that the burglar or the assailant might hear them on the telephone, you can text to 911. So the sheriff's office does have those capabilities.
Hey, Deanna McGee, these organizations that Ron just mentioned, like the Lakes, I know Haven is, but are all those agencies, are they eligible for our CDBG funds?
I don't know if Deanna's having technical difficulties. I'll see if I can read.
But that might be one of the things we look at this year is when we distribute those funds, make sure that these agencies, whatever agencies we can, I know there's the breakdowns, can you only give so much to each section and things like that, but make sure that these organizations continue to get funding to continue the work that they're doing, so.
You know, Mayor, I will tell you also that we one that I forgot to mention was the Oakland County Health Network, and that is a great partnership. The Oakland County Health Network actually provides the police department with its naloxone known commonly as Narcan. And you can see from my memo there that in the block of time that I looked at in 2019 and the block of time that I looked at in 2020, for each year we had 3 Narcan or naloxone saves or administrations of that substance to somebody who was suffering from an overdose. So that's another great partnership we have.
I was going to ask Chief Roberts if approximately how many times we have had to administer that to when we're on a call. So
Yeah, good. He's still there. I don't have that information.
I think I'll interpret for him, and I think he said he didn't have the information.
I think he has AOL dial-up.
That's what happens when the microwave's on in our house.
So Mayor, just to fill in the gap there, I'll try to get a hold of Jeff as well, but Deanna McGee, we got her back online, I think. So.
Okay. In the meantime, Councilmember Smiley, I saw you had a question.
No.
Oh, okay. I thought you raised your hand earlier.
Thanks anyway.
Okay.
Oh, I just wanted to make that microwave comment.
Oh, okay. Councilmember Gremlin Fox.
Thank you. For Director Moore, I know you had said that the officers, if it's a serious enough issue that's going on at the time, that the officers will actually call Haven at that time. Do the officers have with them these list of resources? And if so, do they give them out in the different instances and the different calls?
Yes, the officers have the resources. We have a handout sheet. It's on some heavy cardstock. It's about this big, and it has the different, the various, Haven being at the top of the list, but the various resources. And by department policy, the officers are to give that out to every victim. So that,
Right.
If the victim says, no, I don't want you to call the on-duty caseworker on my behalf, then they will, but at least they'll have the information so that they could call at a later date if they wanted to.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And then do we have those resources on our website as well?
We will tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. Deputy Mayor Resnick.
Just when the topic came up and Chief Moore sent out the report, I started looking through some of the national vital statistics and did notice that there was an alarming increase between 2007 and now for adolescent suicide. And I didn't realize this, but MDHSS has a commission. It's called the Michigan Suicide Prevention Commission, and they had their most recent meeting on December 18th. And in those minutes, they brought up some interesting things that they're trying to do. And there's probably 24 points that they're trying to get to. But one of them was a prompt strategy for the adoption of a 988 for suicide. People that want to call something other than 911, a 988 would be a strategy. So a different type of way of communicating. Continuing the support and use of the suicide prevention hotlines, warm lines, text lines, and other crisis lines. But one of the interesting things I found out was they're looking for expanding and publicizing local survivor leadership groups for community peer supports. And oddly enough, we had a decrease in suicides from 2019 to 2020, but the national statistics and even the state of Michigan show the opposite. But maybe back as part of our team program or something else through the schools, because I noticed that in a lot of the vital statistics that most of these suicides have a a signature of bullying and the social networking, bullying and stuff like that, that were listed as a cause for some of these suicide attempts at least. And so maybe there's something we could do through the school district too, since the State Suicide Prevention Commission is trying to get those leadership groups together. Maybe, I don't know if it's at the high school or the middle school level, wherever those numbers are greatest, but something worth looking into anyway.
Yeah, and I know, speaking for team, that every year we try to send one of our team officers to a seminar with topics, and maybe this year that's the seminar that we pick out, then we send the officer to is how to deal with situations like this.
And you're correct, Mr. Resnick. There's a lot of support for peers for the peer support that you mentioned in some of the seminars I've been to on public safety and police officer wellness, where an officer or a firefighter is struggling as a result of the calls that they've been on in their career. Peer support seems to be one of the preferred methods of providing some help, some mental health and emotional support to the employee that's struggling. So I see no reason why it wouldn't work with kids.
Great. Thank you. That was all I had.
Good. Councilmember Smiley?
Thanks, Mayor Beagle. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up team. I know the schools, are very sensitive to everything that's going on with the kids, and they're always reaching out and being careful with, what they can do to help. And then maybe this is what you thought I had a question, because I did have one way at the beginning when Councilman Gottschall was going through some statistics. I wanted to come back to them. Did he say, like, for instance, the domestic violence is up 33%? That's alarming. But did he say suicide was about the same as it's been?
No,
And then
I
there was
said
another one.
I said luckily it didn't increase.
Okay, good. And then there was the one before that was, shoot, I was jotting it down and I.
Just the general mental health calls.
Oh, yeah, general mental
Yeah.
health. Where was that at?
Up 75%.
Oh, gosh, that was up 75. Okay. Okay, thank you for that. And you got that information from Chief Moore?
Yep, the memo that went out there. What was it, last week, I think?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
January 14th.
January 14th. Yeah.
Okay, I'll double check for you. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Well, Councilmember Gottschall.
Thank you. I appreciate everyone's comments in the background from Chief Moore as well tonight. I think a part of it is just republicizing or publicizing to begin with. Everyone loves you on Facebook and social media, so you have a great platform to get out and just kind of tie things together as well. Because if we've seen assault and battery by domestic violence go up 52%, it's almost a sure bet that we had a lot of unreported calls or incidents as well. So just something where people can know that they can text 911. I wasn't aware of that, but that's phenomenal. But something discreet like that, if they don't want to pick up the phone, they don't have to just kind of suffer and continue on with the way things are. Hopefully at some point this year we'll be allowed out of our houses, but until then, it's something that we should all be working toward, is making sure all the residents know what they have at their disposal through these other organizations and agencies, and being able to text for help, even reaching out through social media, I would imagine, to you or directly to the police department if it's non-emergency, a non-emergent situation. But I think that would be a big part of it, is just making sure everyone's aware of all of these resources that they have and they can reach out. They don't have to kind of deal, like I said, with what's been going on their own, or keep living in a family dispute or assault and battery situation. We can be doing better for them.
All right. Seeing nobody else, thanks for bringing this to our attention, Councilmember Gacho. Appreciate it.
Yep.
All right, moving on, we'll go to the second call to the public. The rules of the call to the public are the same as the first, only this time you can talk about whatever's on your mind. Do we have anybody? I'm not going to read the rules again. Do we have anybody for the second call to the public?
A reminder, press *9 on your phone to raise your hand. We'll give it a moment. No one has raised their hand yet. No one has raised their hand at this point.
All right, I'll close the second call to the public and move on to city manager's comments. City Manager Brown.
So no real heavy comments tonight, other than we had work anniversaries that range from 1 year up to 26 years. And it's one of our regular participants here with our city council meetings, somebody who just tapped for his expertise a few moments ago. Our public safety director and chief of police, Ron Moore, is setting the standard for this month's work anniversaries recognition at 26 years. So congratulations to Ron Moore for that career of service to the city of Wixom, and we appreciate it. So I just wanted to make mention of that. Other than that, I had nothing else, Your Honor. We also have, I should say from my own office, Anna Coolers Rosenthal also is at the lower end with 2 years, but somebody we've had a great addition in the city manager's office for. So congratulations to all of them on their work anniversaries that are mentioned. And that's all I had, Your Honor.
Thank you. Council comments. Councilmember Smiley.
Thank you, Mayor Beagle. Just a couple things. Sounds like, a lot of work went into, getting the Ford property agreement to the point where it is now. I just want to say thank you to City Manager Brown and his staff for keeping this important project moving. It's very exciting. And just a thank you to Councilman Gottschall for bringing the mental health discussion, to the council tonight. And thanks to, Public Safety Director Moore, for what he's doing to, help our struggling residents. Lockdown is a strain for many, and the effects will linger even after we're released. Not sure what you word to use there, but that's it. One other thing, just if you haven't seen Chief Moore's meme today with Bernie in his office, that's you got to follow him. It was classic. I never get tired of those memes. That's all. Good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Berman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to thank Tim and his team for doing an awesome job with our snow removal this year. It's nice when I get up in the morning, get my kids ready, and my subdivision is already plowed before my kids even get on the school bus. And I know that doesn't happen in that way in a lot of communities, particularly the one where I work. The streets weren't even done when I was leaving work today. So it's just nice that that's something we do really well here. And I know I appreciate it. And I'm sure our residents do as well. That being said, I've noticed the last couple of times it snowed, it doesn't appear that the residents are necessarily taking it seriously at removing their cars from the streets. Yep. There were lots of vehicles in my subdivision and in other subdivisions. And I wouldn't mind seeing the police department increase enforcement and make sure that their residents are educated well, that they need to be removing their vehicles from the streets. It's not fair to our drivers. It's not fair to the people who live next to those people who now have these big mounds of snow because their neighbor didn't remove their car from the street.
Remind us again, Ron, 2 inches of snow is a snow emergency?
Yes, Mayor. By traffic control order, it's 2 inches. And you're right, Mr. Behrman, it is a yearly battle. So, you can expect to see something coming out on social media and perhaps even the website on that. And
Yep.
yes, unfortunately, we certainly, we don't like to write City of Wixom residents tickets, but
But
we
when we're,
will if we have to, certainly.
If
when we're
if I
not
can
able to-
compliment, sorry,
No.
Mr. Mayor.
I was just gonna say, when we're not able to utilize our wing plows to our fullest extent, then, I get a little upset.
That's right. I would like to compliment those in the tribute area. I drove through there this morning and there was not one car on the street. They were all parked in their driveways. I was impressed. That's a first for us in that area. So it's a new sub. We appreciate that. And thank you, Member Behrman.
Yeah. Okay, Councilmember Sharp.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good meeting. I have nothing further to add.
Very good. Councilmember Gotcho.
Thank you. I again wanted to thank Public Safety Director Moore for putting together the information for tonight's discussion and for his dedicated career to the city of Wixom. Thank you to all of our snowplow team and DPW team for taking care of residents the last few days. Hopefully not so much tomorrow or tonight, but we'll see. But the other thing I wanted to bring up that's somewhat road related is now that in-person learning is back and going again, so are the complaints that I get about elementary school drop-off traffic. And I'm hoping that maybe administration can address this with the school district. But I know when I looked out my window today at Loon Lake Elementary, I could almost feel that I would get a complaint before the end of the day from someone. And sure enough, I did. And we've got residents that can't travel down Loon Lake Road in either direction because parents are taking up every lane trying to get into the circle drive at Loon Lake Elementary, rather than putting their kid on a bus, which would be generally recommended, or just pulling into the parking lot, which usually sits about half full. They just wait in the center turn lane trying to get into the circle drive, and then everyone headed eastbound stacks up. And the particular resident that reached out to me today said he was extremely late to an appointment because he had to end up going through the back of the neighborhood just to work his way around to where he should have been able to get to anyway. So it's something that a few years ago, I can't even remember how long ago, frankly, the district decided they weren't going to do any busing within a mile of schools, and that had an impact. And now I think probably COVID, people don't want to put their kids on the bus. And so they're dropping them off, and that's making things even worse, even though the kids are going to go sit in school with everyone they would ride the bus with anyway. But I kind of approached this since we were talking about traffic impacts for the ICP property. If this were a new development, we would be forcing them to make some roadway improvements. And I don't want to force that on a school district, but at a certain point, they've got to adjust and account for the negative impact they're having on all the other non-drop-off traffic. And so I think we need to have a serious discussion with them, because it's not just Loon Lake. When we had all of the public study sessions for the previously proposed development off of Maple Road, we heard very much the same thing about Theodore and Wixom roads as well. And so I think it's time that we kind of call the school district to account and have them work on a very serious plan to get their traffic issues under control for the city. I don't think it's acceptable anymore, them stacking up and preventing residents from using public roads because they're using them as parking lots and drop-off queues. So that's mainly my point for tonight. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there with a lot of things with the COVID. I know my school, the drop-off rate is up like 30% from normal because parents don't want to put their kids on buses. Yeah, but it's something that's got to be addressed. I agree. Councilmember Brennan Fox.
I would just echo all the comments already made. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. Deputy Mayor Resnick.
I just also wanted to compliment Tim and team, and thank you also for getting a lot of the safety paths done. Maybe they're all done tonight, but I saw them out there doing those. You can actually walk and run and everything again. And number two, Councilman Behrman, I'm very impressed you're putting your kids on the bus. That was going to be my comment, because I noticed as well what an increase. And even though I saw that Wixamel and Sarah Banks modified their drop-off points, they didn't modify them enough. Traffic's
Yeah.
now backed up almost back to Wixom Road on Charms.
I have no desire to wait in that Theodore line, so they can ride the bus.
Compliments to you. All right, that's all I had. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Yep, and I want to thank Tim and his team for a job well done. I got several compliments on social media today about the way they take care of our city and the roads during snowstorms and stuff like that. Yeah, and I think we may have to enforce the snow ordinance. I think we got over 2 inches today, and I know in my subdivision there's about 3 or 4 spots where you got to make the big weave because people had their cars out. And then unfortunately, not only is there now, but the city has to go back at a later date to fix that, and we shouldn't have to. Congratulations to everybody celebrating a work anniversary. It seems like Anna's been around longer than 2 years. She does a great job here, and congratulations, Public Safety Director Moore, 26 years. And also, I want to thank Rob and his staff for putting these Zoom meetings on. I think if you go online or look on your local access channel and see how some of the other cities are handling their meetings, we should be very pleased with the professionalness and the production that we have with our meetings. I'll take our meetings over anybody's meetings in this area. And with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Moved.
Support.
Thank you. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Thanks, guys. Everybody have a great week. Have a
Good
great
night.
weekend. Stay warm.
Good night, everyone.
Talk to you later.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mayor Beagle.
Good
Thank you,
night.
folks.
Appreciate the words.
Good night.